Hello and welcome to another edition of Talkin' Tunes. I am your host, Frank Walsh. And ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman on my right here is a man who needs no introduction. You may remember him from being on the show in the past. And since then, a lot of things has gone on in his life, and we thought that we would bring him back and have him catch up. And if you remember, he has some tremendous stories. He is a living legend who has played with many of the greats locally, nationally, and internationally. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome back to the show the living legend, Mr. Shor'ty Billups. Hey, Shor'ty.
How are you, Frank?
I am doing well.
Thank you for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure for you to want to come back. And I mean, you know, folks, how can we not start the show by admiring this man's wardrobe? He is probably the best dressed and one of the classiest and nicest guy in the business. So, Shor'ty, what's been happening since we were on before? You told some interesting stories. I think one of the things we left off the last time was that you had taught Ray Charles how to drive a car. You were talking about Sam Cooke and Wilson Pickett and Otis Redding and all kinds of people. And also you were venturing into the restaurant business. So why don't we pick up from where we left off with the restaurant business?
Yeah, well, I got into the restaurant business.
Yep.
And me and Miss Hattie.
Yep.
Miss Hattie was instrumental in that restaurant because she really had my back.
Yep.
when we were doing that. But I had to let the restaurant go because that 12 and 14 hours a day for a man my age just ain't cutting it.
What do you mean your age? What are you, 38, 39?
39.
39, okay.
I'm in my second childhood.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, I put it that way.
Well, I have to tell you, I did frequent your restaurant, and many people have, and Miss Hattie, that's Hattie Barrett, folks, and I'm sure you all know who she is. One heck of a cook. You weren't too bad yourself, slapping on the ribs and the burgers and the fries, the rings, and your peach cobbler. You had some good food there, and you put on some great entertainment. So, all good things come to an end, but you had a heck of a run for about a year or so.
Yes.
What else has been going on? You still playing music?
Yes, I'm still in the music game. We were recently down in Georgia.
Uh-huh.
We did a wedding down there, and I come back from there, and we went to Virginia, and when I come back from there, I had the gig down the Cape with James Montgomery.
Yep. You get around, young man.
Well, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's still fun to me.
Yeah.
It's been fun for a lot of years, and for me now, it's still fun.
Now, that's pretty evident. I've seen you perform many times, and we're going to show a clip of one of the performances that we here at SMAC had the pleasure of taping. I see you come in, you're very casual, you're very laid back, and you change your clothes, and all of a sudden they say, okay, Shor'ty, you're on. And you just transform yourself from this regular, casual, laid back guy to a consummate showman and entertainer. How many years did it take to develop that, and how can you just kind of flip that switch from going to Shor'ty, the regular guy, to Shor'ty, the performer? How can you do that?
First of all, it took about 72 years.
I think you've done pretty good in getting it down.
Yeah, well, it took about 72 years to get like that, and being frankful, truthful about it, I never noticed any difference. I thought I was the same person all the time.
Well, you are, but it's just I've seen other performers. I've been to 1,000,001 shows in my day, and I see people before the show, they get a little bit tense, they get a little bit uptight, they don't want to talk to anybody because they're getting into that mode. And then there are some people who talk a mile a minute and want to talk about everything, and they want to talk about their music, and they're going around 1,000,000 miles an hour and before they get on show. But you are that same person, but you just smoothly just transition into it, and bang, the band starts playing, you're ready to go.
That's it.
And I think that's, you know, definitely a compliment to you. But after those 72 years, how do you keep that fire? How do you keep that passion? What motivates you to just flip that switch and become the showman you are?
The music. The music. The magic is in the music.
It comes from down here?
Well, it might be a little deeper than that.
In your soul?
Yes, it could be a little deeper than the soul. It could be. It's hard sometimes. Sometimes it's hard.
Okay.
But I tell anybody, it's fair. You know, and shucking and lollygagging don't get you nowhere. So you got to do what you got to do.
Now, having performed as long as you performed, how much practice do you still have to do? Do you still have to get in there and practice and work on your timing and get your little shtick together, if you would? Or is that something that you just kind of ad-lib and you go with the flow and feed off the crowd?
No, I have to practice.
You have to practice still, yeah?
I still have to rehearse. And especially if I got a new tune, I have to try to get, like you said, the timing in the right place, the words in the right place with the timing. So that's it. And if I don't rehearse or practice, you call it. If I don't practice, then it's going to be a mess. And I can't use that.
Now, you've written many songs over the years, and how do you get that inspiration? Like when you are going around with your day-to-day, do you consciously say to yourself, I need to write a song, I want to do another album? Or are you just going about your regular day and all of a sudden an idea, a tune, a thought pops into your head and say, wow, I got to make a song out of that?
Not necessarily the daytime, but I could be sleeping.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm dreaming of what happened, but I'll wake up with a tune in my head, and I'll be humming the tune. Then I'll try to put the words with it and bring it out.
I've asked this question before to other people when you're doing your stuff. I know there's probably a little bit of both, but what would you say comes first? Do you pick up the melody? Do you pick up the tune, or do you think of the words first and then put the music behind it, or do you think of the tune, the melody first and then put the words?
Well, with me, in most cases, the words come first.
The words come first.
Yes. I'll see an incident. Every tune that we sang, that we play, it tells a story. I like tunes that tell a story. It might be a good story, might be a funny story, might be a bad story, a sad story, but it'll tell a story. It might be a story about me, could be about somebody walking down the street, it might be about you.
Well, I hope I'm around for one of these days when that comes. That would be an honor to be associated with Shor'ty Billups in a song. But we're talking about music, and as you said, you've been around for a long time. How would you view the state of the blues, since that seems to be your forte? How would you compare and contrast the blues of today with some of the experiences that you've had getting to this point in your life? Talk a little bit about the evolution of the music as you saw it then to where it is now.
Well, it really depends on how you want to look at it, from what perspective you want to look at it.
Pick one.
If you want to look at it from the money aspect, or the pay, it's today is not as good as it was 40 years ago. I made more 40 years ago performing than I do today.
Why do you think that is?
Well, promoters,
Okay.
the promoters. The promoters, they all cry. We don't have the money to pay for instance, they would say, well, I'd like to have you down here in Mississippi. But I said, okay, I'll come, me and the band will come down. I can't afford to bring your band down here. I can't pay for nobody but you. And then somewhere in the conversation they'll say, well, when are you down here in this area? I said, well, I'm not down in the area, and maybe might be sometime, maybe 8-10 months from there. Well, then let's set up something for that time when you're down here.
Because they don't want to pay the trip down there, right?
And they don't want to pay down there, and they don't want to try to get me a gig at another place while I'm down there.
Wow.
You know, I mean, if I would think that if they were promoting like they used to do years ago, a promoter would have you, or a club owner would have you to come to his club, and he'll say, well, he'll tell you, while you're here, I'm going to try to put you in Henry Washington's club. You mind playing Henry's club? Well, and then I would ask, how close is Henry's club to your club? Mm-hmm. He said, well, it's about 6 or 8 blocks. That ain't where I want to go. If I'm going to play a place 6 or 8 blocks from the place I'm playing now, I might as well stay here, you know, and let him make the money. Mm-hmm. But if he got a place, like 40, 50 miles away, that's somebody he know, I'd gladly play it.
Mm-hmm. Now, is what you're talking about more regional, or would you consider that universal across the country? Like, are there some areas that would really appreciate the music, where they would promote and would pay, versus some areas that don't, or is that across the board?
It is across the board.
Really?
They don't care who want to see it, you know. It's like they want to make all the money, mm-hmm. and the performer get nothing. That's what it boils down to.
Wow, that's
and
unfortunate.
And the union, I'm in the union. I've been in the union for a number of years. A union in 802 in New York. I'm also in AGVA, a member of AGVA, yep. AGVA in New York, and I'm a member of the union here in Boston. So I mean, but like it's nothing being done there either.
Wow. Now, as far as my view on it, you certainly have 1,000% more knowledge and experience that I do. But what I see a lot is that some of these young people are coming into the scene, and it seems as like they get to play a lot. You'll see one person who might be a really good performer. He could be at Pete's on one week, he'll be at the next page another week, he'll be over at Riles another week, where some of these people seem to be playing all the time. And then there are people like yourself and some of the more seasoned musicians that, in my opinion, should be playing out there. Why do you think there is that disparity between someone who is relatively new onto the scene or not having the prominence as you, getting all of these gigs and performances, whereas you and the more seasoned ones don't?
Well, first of all, they don't understand, the young musicians don't understand the way the game is played.
Okay.
They're out grabbing gigs wherever they can get the gig for whatever money they can get. I do it for a living. It's my livelihood. Most of the young musicians that's coming out today, they got day jobs, so whatever money they make on the side, like playing at Pete's and Riles and places like that, they're satisfied with it. But because they can make a living off the day job, and the music thing is just something for them to do, in most cases to get them out of the house.
So would it then be safe to assume that the individuals who do what you just said, they'll take the gigs, because they may like to play music, and they'll take whatever money is being offered. So would you say that because they do that, that takes money out of your pocket?
Sure.
Because they would rather have someone who is a good performer accepting, I'll make up a number, $100 to do it for the sake of doing it, versus someone like yourself where they might have to pay $200, so they'd rather pay the $100 to them than the $200 to you, and still get good music and try to get fannies into the seats. Is
Yes.
that an accurate?
That description, yes, it is. The young musicians, some of them will play for beer. I don't drink, so I got a habit, but it's not a drinking habit.
Okay.
I got a eating habit. I have to feed my habit. So, beer won't feed my habit. Whiskey won't feed my habit. When I owned the nightclub, I never had one drink in that nightclub the whole time I had at the restaurant. Whole time I had it, I never had a drink. No beer, no whiskey, nothing alcoholic. So I have to have something with grease in it. I don't know if you understand that or not, but I'm talking like pork chops, ham hocks, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, stuff like that, candy yam. That's what I'm talking about.
All right. So if I was granted the almighty power to say, Shor'ty, I am going to make you the blues commissioner, and you had the power to change the blues scene and this music scene that's going on around here, how would you do that? How would you change the situation that we just talked about? And what would you like to see the music scene around the clubs and around different areas? How would you like to see that if you could change it and had the power to do it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to see the union doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. If they did that, then it would be much better for the seasoned musician opposed to the ones that's just coming out. Now, don't get me wrong. The young musician and entertainers, they deserve a break, just like
absolutely,
just like I did.
And nothing we're saying today is disparaging them.
Right.
It's just the state of the union.
Right. But if the union.
But how can we lessen that gap? How can we bridge that gap so that there's more, unity among the musicians over here who'll play for the beer or play for $50 versus the season experiences, the Shor'ty Billups, the James Montgomerys, the Vinnie Serinos, how can we lessen that gap?
Well, I really haven't given that much thought.
Off the top of your head.
But off the top of my head, it would go back again to the union, again.
Okay.
It would go back to there. Go back there. If they did what they were supposed to do, like they did years ago, a union delegate would come to any club, and he had the right, the authority to go to any club, and he would ask for union cards. If you had 10 guys on the bandstand, which we did years ago, we would have 10 guys in a band. And that's a band.
Yep.
Today, they get 3 people in playing, which is a trio, and they call that a band. So, but getting back to the union delegate, he could come in the club, and he would ask for union cards. Anybody that didn't have a union card, they'd have to come off the stand right then and there, to come off the stand. And was no point in hanging around until he left, because a lot of times he would leave and stand outside and look in, or he would leave and go to the next club, turn around and come back. And if you were back up there, then the leader of the band would be fined. And oftentimes, and the fine wasn't a $20 fine. It was like a $200, $300 fine, sometimes $500 fine, depending on how many times you did something like that. But that's my input on that thing. I
Well,
think.
I think it's very insightful. Now, you know, we've been sitting and blabbing here for a little while. I think if Roxanne Morris, our great director in the booth, is ready, I think the folks at home would like to see the Shor'ty Man in action. And we had some video taken of you at a concert right here at the Temple in Stoughton back in January.
I remember
where,
that.
as usual, you steal the show with your showmanship and outfit. So, Roxanne, if you are ready to push that little button, let's show the folks at home Shor'ty Billups in action.
We're doing this tune for Jacqueline. The things that I used to do. Lord, I don't do no more. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, yeah. You know too, don't you? The things that I used to do. Lord, I don't do no more. can't get along with you. Thank you. That's a tune. That's one of my favorite tunes because
Real blues from this gentleman right here, Mr. Shor'ty Billups. That was a fun night playing with Vinnie Sereno, Boston Baked Blues, Jason Ritchie, Lee Hawkins. It was just a great night. But as you know, Shor'ty, time winds down pretty quickly on this show. So let me ask you one thing before we have to sign off. What advice would you have today for musicians coming onto the scene or new musicians as far as carrying on tradition? What advice would you give to the musicians of today?
Well, it depends on where they want to go. If they're doing it just, for the beer and to get out of the house, then they can do it any way they want to do it. But if they're doing it to make themselves a better musician or to, what's the word I'm looking for, to be a professional musician.
Yep.
That's what I'm looking for. To be a professional musician, then they have to get one thing, one instrument, and stick with that one instrument.
And master it.
Master. That's the word I'm looking for. Master. Master that one instrument.
Well, Shor'ty, I have to tell you that you have been mastering the music world for the past 50, 60, 70 years, and I tell you, everybody who I know who knows you is thankful for it.
Thank you.
So
Thank
on
you.
that note, I have to thank Shor'ty Billups, Roxanne Morse, our director, and it would be remiss of me not to mention Miss Hattie Barrett, Shor'ty's friend and manager. So until the next time, folks, support your local musicians. Get out there and buy some beers, eat the food, and support good people like Shor'ty. I am Frank Walsh, and as always, tune in and tune on. That was a great show. That's going to be one of the best ones.